Morolake Akinosun.
Yes.
Nigerian.
Yes.
Yoruba.
Yes.
Give me. So tell me a bit about your Nigerian story.
Ooh, my Nigerian story. Moved here when I was 2 years old with my mom, my dad, and only my older sister at the time, and settled in Chicagoland. And although we lived in the U.S., my household was very Nigerian.
Great. I mean, your Instagram post says it all. During the Nigerian independence, you're like, don't let American culture damage your African soul.
Yes.
So how African are you?
I don't know. I feel like it changes based on where I am. You feel like you turn back into like your true like home self once you get around like your people. Mm-hmm. Well, I've been here my whole life basically, so I'm both.
So any pidgin? Do you speak pidgin or Yoruba?
I don't speak any pidgin. My mom always felt that it was for like how do I say this politely? The bush. So she wouldn't let like my dad or anyone like teach us, let us pick it up because she didn't like it.
Yeah.
And like,
but how about Yoruba like that?
I understand it pretty well, but now that I'm not at home anymore and I don't hear it often, it's much harder.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, your PB is 1095 from 2016, and you
tied it this year.
Yeah, you did it this year, and then you have done 1097. Mm-hmm. How's the training been for you?
I transitioned to a new coach last year, and I'm with Bobby Kersey now, and I feel like this year we've really found our groove and our movement and running consistently in like 10.9s, 11.0s, and so I'm happy with that.
Great. I mean, what would you say changed significantly, when you moved coaches?
That's hard to answer because so much changed. My previous coach, Coach Bailey and Bobby, have very different training philosophies. And I remember one of my very early practices, he told me to do something, and I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And I took like 3 steps, and he was like, no, stop. And I was just like, oh, do I even know how to run anymore?
Right.
And so it was just the aspect of letting go of every single thing that I was taught and learned the last like 10 years, and being willing to adapt to a new coach and a new training philosophy.
So how was that big? How was that for you? Was it hard? Was it easy for you to
I think I'm really adaptable and really coachable, and so I wouldn't say it was super easy, but because I was really open to the change and I like wanted the change, it wasn't hard. Yeah.
So I mean, you've been through injuries, as an athlete, For the young ones watching you right now, what kind of advice would you give to them, how to handle injuries?
It's not easy. You have to acknowledge it for yourself. Don't gaslight yourself and say that like, oh, I'm going to be fine, like, oh, nothing's wrong with me. It's okay to admit that it's wrong and acknowledge yourself and acknowledge your feelings, but know that you got to work your way out of it. It happens to everyone.
I mean, you are more than an athlete. Emmy Award winner, film producer. Tell us a bit about it. How are you able to juggle around being a professional athlete and then being in like the...
it's in college we used to have to balance way more, and so it doesn't feel all that difficult, and it's not a constant everyday thing. Like we used to have class every day, study hall every day, everything every day, and so now it's just a couple of days or sometimes like a week without doing anything besides track and field. So it's not that difficult. It's really fun, and it's fun to have a passion outside of track as well.
Right. What's the goal for the rest of the season?
I don't believe in goals. I have objectives without limitations, and so I do not have any, but to approach every single race like I can win it.
Great. All the best.
I wish I got that.